Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA plus exclusive experiences, discounts, and tickets. Already a AAA member? Upgrade for free or join today at AAA.com, AAA.com/Commanders. Hello, and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the Keim Report wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media. That's Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I have a story up now about what I'm going to talk about. As you can see, I'm live from the airport because I had to hustle my butt to the airport after the news that Dan Quinn was going to be taking over as defensive coordinator for Joe Whitt. I'm going to get to that in a minute. First, a couple bits of news. One, Daron Payne was suspended. As you know, I'm sure by now he can appeal it. By the time you hear this, you probably already know the result of that appeal, so stay tuned for that. Also, cornerback Trey Amos fractured his fibula. He's, as Dan Quinn said, he's going to miss a significant amount of time. Typically, it's up to probably around 8 weeks. That would knock him out for the season. Just yet another injury for the Commanders, kind of, again, further wiping out that lineup. And again, it doesn't excuse everything, because if it did, they would not have made this move today with Dan Quinn. So, and this, of course, is Quinn's decision. And it's funny because I did record a podcast earlier today in which I talked about what more could they do? What kind of things could they do to change? Now, you're going to look at personnel before you start going down other roads. Clearly, this is something that Quinn had been thinking about. Now, we saw on Sunday, Dan Campbell took over the play calling duties for the Detroit Lions, and offense kind of worked out well. Good time to do it against this defense. But that's what, and so the other part is, because of that, one of my two questions today was going to be, are you considering giving up play calling duties and or not giving up, but taking over for Joe Whitt? Because they've tried so many things. They've changed the practice. They pared it down. They had Whitt down in the field. Nothing has worked. And I think that's the problem, is what are the fixes for this defense? Is this going to be enough alone? I think it's awfully hard to say that it will be. The one thing for Quinn is like, hey, we had a good vibe together in Dallas when Quinn was the DC and Whitt was the pass game coordinator plus secondary coach. But when you look at this team, do they have the talent where it's going to make a difference? I think that's the problem here. I don't know that. Listen, we all know that they're not sure that they do. And the other part is for Whitt, he, of course, has not been fired. What this means beyond here, there's no way that he, as Quinn said, he took it like a pro that he is, but there's no way you can be happy. This is a demotion, plain and simple, and it's certainly a referendum on what they think about him as the coordinator, and nothing has worked. And why is that? And I think that's the problem here. And what is going to really change over the next 7 weeks? We've seen these changes before, these in-season firings before, and they don't typically result in a whole lot, right? So could it be different? Is it a play calling thing? Well, I'll give you a few examples, because I was talking to someone today who knows a lot about defenses and asked them, like, hey, when do you know it's time to change coordinator? And so, and he started going into the play calling aspect. And there was an example from Sunday that I was asking him about, which was the 28-yard run by Jahmyr Gibbs. So on that play, you see Goff at the line checking to, it's a 1st and 10, checking to a run, because there is a too high safety look. It's a cover 2 look, and the linebackers looked like they were going to ready to drop into coverage. They were anticipating play action, but the Lions just stayed a step ahead of them, and Goff audibles to the run. Gibbs hits it for 20 yards. The other problem with it was the play of the linebackers, and it wasn't just because of speed. I know people talk a lot about their speed, but to me, it was false steps, or just basically not just me. It was talking to these people who know more than me. There were some false steps, and then you had Kinlaw getting a wham block, trap basically, and then you had the linebackers took. They gave it to a defensive coach, and when I showed it to him, he said, hey, on these kind of plays, you have to, if you're a linebacker, you're reading the back. The back didn't take any counter steps, so there's no reason to go to that side. They both did, and it left open a path over here. But the other part of it, off of that, this guy was talking about, was the play calling, and how, when it's time to change, when you're always kind of reacting to the offense. And I think, in that case, the Lions were staying a step ahead, and it felt like teams were a step ahead of where this team was, and they, okay, they're doing this, we're going to play this. All right. Then they would say, you're playing this, we're doing this. And that started to have, that's what some people started to see from outside here. Now, whether or not that's why Quinn was doing it, I don't know. All he said, it was, clearly it was time to do something. They've tried so many things that nothing is working. And I think you have to look at, do they have the roster now to do anything? Because you've lost both your starting corners. Whatever you think of whatever Lattimore is doing, he's a starting corner for them. And now Amos is out. He was their best corner. So now you're left with 3 guys with Igbenogany and then Jones and Samuel still. and Jones can play, is probably the best of that group outside, but it's not a group that that's gonna have a lot of success in that. They're all kind of like, they can all play inside, they can play outside, but it's a tough one. You don't have any size at corner. That also is tough. And I think that's something that Dan Quinn defense typically likes. So what can you do there? Then you have the linebackers. What are there personnel moves you can make? I think that's the thing we have to look at going forward too. When does Jordan McGee get more of a chance at that Mike position? I think that, Bobby Wagner is the guy there for now. But at some point, you're 3-7. Quinn is going to be back. You need to see, what do you have at these spots going forward? You'd like to see more from Johnny Newton, but right now he's a rotational guy. Deron Payne is there, obviously Javon Kinlaw, and then Newton is a rotational guy. Will he ever be more than that? I don't know. Samerstill, I'd like to see him stay at the slot, just because if that's where his future is, let him get more and more and more acclimated to that spot. And I'm checking my watch because I'm going to have to be boarding here in about 10 minutes. So this is really a crazy day here, folks. Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Commanders MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive team events and experiences, along with 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Already a AAA member? Add the Commanders MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's getting darker earlier and moods can be altered because of it. That can make it a tough time for many. That's why this November, BetterHelp is encouraging everyone to reach out, check in on friends, reconnect with loved ones, and remind the people in your life that you're there. I know I'm going to be checking in on Rick Snyder's family. I know it has to be a difficult time for them going through the holidays. I'm sure you know someone in a similar spot. It takes a little courage to sometimes make those calls, but it's always worth it. BetterHelp is there for you as well. BetterHelp therapists have helped more than 5 million people worldwide on their mental health journeys. The right therapist can change everything, and BetterHelp has 12 plus years experience in matching people to the right therapist. With more than 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, and it works with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for a live session based on more than 1.7 million client reviews. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/Ampire. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Ampire. That's what I'm thinking about there. But the Samerstill is a guy that, again, best suited inside. I think the other part is with losing my train of thought here as people walk around. But Sam was still better inside. But then you, again, linebackers. So I think the hard part with what they have, Jordan McGee, will he get more time? And it's funny because I know some people pinged him for the pass to Jahmyr Gibbs. Got to remember here, folks, like that play to Gibbs, he is a high-end running back with a lot of speed. That was a well-designed play by the Lions part, and I think that's, give him credit. But I also wonder, like, what can he learn off of that? You go through it, then you learn. Would you learn to play with better leverage, to maybe force him outside, a little bit more? I'm going to try and move around here because people are kind of talking over here. But sorry, folks. I'm being creative here. So that is what you have to look at too with McGee. But on that play, I don't really necessarily blame him because that's a really tough ask for a linebacker. Could they have done a better job with getting maybe Quan Martin on him as they did later in the game? Martin was much more equipped to handle a guy like that. So, but again, I think you look at with this defense, now they're taking care of play calling, and you also look at personnel. What do they have the personnel going forward? I think that's the hard part here. You look at the offense, they have the personnel in large part, right? They have the offensive line, like Tunsil is going to be here. Connolly is developing, and I'll get to more on him on 5 Thoughts on Friday. And same with Trey Burks. Like maybe you got lucky with a guy like that. We don't know. He could be a part of your receiver rotation, but the line should be set for a couple of years. You have the quarterback. We know that. So you are really in good spot there. Add another receiver. You get McLaurin back, but add another guy. Add a tight end who can do something. And I know like people want to see Cynic get more, but I don't know that he's going to ever be that guy. And that's okay. Like if he can be a backup who catches 25 to 30 passes, but is a good blocker, okay. I still would like to get someone who's got a little bit more explosiveness to their game to give Daniels more help at that position. So, but on defense, what are the building blocks? What are the building blocks? There, Trey Amos, building block. Samuel, I don't know after this year. Can you say that for sure, or will the change be good for him? And I'd say down the road, is there going to be more change that might be beneficial to him? And what are they asking them to do? So I think like there's a lot I like about that guy, like the competitiveness. He's tough. He's smart. So what else can he do to help get up there? And so is it just a matter of experience? Could be, but I'm not giving up on him for sure. But what are the other building blocks there? If you say like in 2 years, who are the guys for that spot? I don't know. 2 years from now, who are the guaranteed starters that are young? Like, is Kinlaw still going to be there? Probably. But then beyond that, who else? Like McGee, I'd like to see. I think he could be, but we don't. I think that's something they're going to have to figure out for sure going forward. And the other part is too, we've never seen like what is it that they can hang their hat on at this point. There's really nothing. Like that's one thing that Quinn's going to have to get figured out going forward. Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Commanders MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive team events and experiences, along with 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Already a AAA member? Add the Commanders MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive. What is it they do well? They haven't blitzed well. They're not putting any pressure on now without Dorrance Armstrong. They're not stopping the run because their run gap fits are undisciplined and not sound, and they don't cover well. And they weren't covering well when they were healthy. So what's going to look like now? What can he affect? Sometimes a different set of eyes, and it's just a different way of play calling, just like on offense. There is a rhythm to it. There's an art to it. And so maybe because he's done it a lot more, maybe that's what he should be doing. I don't think that's what he wants to do, because I think you get through the season, then you have to reassess what you want going forward. I just can't imagine that going forward, this is what he wants, because that's why he hired people that he trusted and didn't want to have to do that. I think in Atlanta, it got to a point where he felt like he had to do too much. That's not why he wants to have people he trusts here and here. And like, then you can do your job as a head coach and deal with the players, et cetera. So that's what I think Dan Quinn wants, for sure. So I'm trying to look at my notes here, and I apologize. This is really a makeshift thing, and I'm trying to get this out. So, but I think the other thing too, like with the run gaps too, why are they so undisciplined, and why has it been like that? And I was talking to someone else about it, and they just talked about what their experience was, and how you get that is through practice, and go over the run gaps before practice, during practice, after practice, do it a lot. And I know they increase their walkthroughs. That's something the offense does a lot of, and I think it's helped them when healthy. So they, can they do more of that? And I don't know, like that's something I would like to ask, like how much they're doing of that, because it's and he said that this person I was talking to was like, when you start to do that, your pass drops come off of that. So if you're a certain, like the hook player, you got a certain run fit. If you're the drop player, you got a certain run fit. You got so there's just different run fits off of the coverage fits off of the run fits. So the better you are with the run fits, the more disciplined and sound you are with your pass drops. And I think you see teams like Seattle and then also Kansas City in particular, who are very disciplined and sound in those areas. That's something that has to change as well. And then, I think as far as, oh, by the way, this is the AAA review. So I meant to say that up front. This is the AAA review. And I'll say it again, AAA review, because I don't want to shortchange them. But I think like I said, I think there's just so much to do. I think like if you're healthy on offense, that's the problem here. Like if they were healthy on offense, they could be obviously in a better spot. How much better? Probably beat the Bears if you have Terry there, and if you don't fumble, if you don't throw, if you stop them one time, you get that game. Maybe you beat Atlanta, but that might be tough just because you couldn't stop them. You couldn't stop Dallas, but you're in the game a lot more. And I think that's like you look at Detroit last year, a lot of injuries on defense. They were in it because their offense was so explosive. This offense needs to get a little bit more explosion for Downs to make it really, really dangerous. The question is, how can they do that this offseason with, they're going to have a lot of cap space. They're going to have a lot of players they need to sign because they only have 34 in the contract as of now. Only 6 draft picks, not a lot. Need to find a way to add more and more quality. They've been going for depth over high impact. Maybe you switch it up a little bit and get one impact guy, and then, but I think that they'd rather have good all over, but you need to get an impact guy on defense. They just don't have one. And I think that's why this change, like, while I think it's probably necessary because we've seen what has happened. They've tried so many different things and nothing has happened. I wondered if they wouldn't make some personnel moves before they got to this point, but clearly that's not what they're doing. So I don't know, folks. That's about all I've got from this. I just think, like, if this doesn't work, you have a long way to go. Like, and then what? Because what on the defensive staff? What else? Like, why is the coverage? Why is there some coverage issues? You see some coverage mishaps the other day where on the 4th and 1, I've never seen an easier 4th down throw for Jared Goff than he had. Can't remember to number 11. So you have. It's a zone drop, and you have 3 guys over there. You 2 in coverage. You have 1 guy dropping more. It was the easiest pitch and catch on a 4th down you will ever see. Like, those mistakes, they kept happening over and over yesterday and throughout the season. And so, like, yesterday, sometimes it felt like it was not so much player. Maybe there were some player mishaps, but it also felt like there were maybe some calls that just were not the right calls for the right situation, or the right looks. And maybe it was that stemming from paring it down and they couldn't adjust. I don't know. But what I do know is it wasn't working. And Dan Quinn felt like he had to make a change, and today he did. And so they're going to go to Spain with that. And whether or not Deron Payne joins them, we'll find out. You'll find out probably before you even listen to this. Also, Terry McLaurin is going to Spain, but Dan Quinn said he will not play, as we didn't think he would. But but he will be going. Jaden Daniels not going. He's got with the elbow and all that. There's no reason for him. It's in a brace. Like, why would you go? So, anyways, folks, that's it for me. I apologize for this rushed podcast. It was a longer one and maybe a little bit more coherent, maybe, but it's also a different background. At least you see the activity at Dulles Airport before I get on my plane to Spain. There you go. Appreciate you tuning in. I'll be back probably on, I guess, I don't know, a couple of days with another report. I'm going to lose track of time because we're going to be 6 hours ahead of the East Coast. And if you're on the West Coast, we'll be 9 hours ahead. So appreciate you tuning in. I'll talk to you next time.